Welcome back to Photography for the Rest of Us, a place for people who love the art of photography. My name is Carrie, and today is week 3, day 4 of our Learn Photo Challenge. Hey guys, how's the week going? I love seeing all of your images. I can see that some of you are struggling a little bit with high key images. Just keep at it. It's okay if there's a few shadows in there, but you know, like the idea is light, bright, bold, airy, like not a lot of shadows, not a lot of like depth, real poppy kind of, think CoverGirl ads, commercials, right? But you guys have been working through it and I'm really proud, and I love seeing all of the images, like genuinely love seeing all of the images that you guys are coming up with. So, okay. We're still talking about lighting, and today's prompt is for day 4 is window light. Okay, so that might seem fairly easy, right? Okay, light coming through a window or an open door, but something coming into a room, right, that is illuminating whatever, right? I use window light. I used to shoot boudoir. I really like shooting boudoir, but it's not like my passion. And I used natural light most of the time for that with just white curtains in front of the window. I do shoot occasionally with window light when I'm out traveling, so I'll pop a couple of those images up. And then I also do shoot my family a lot with window light. So like this picture I took of my husband and my daughter. They were building a computer or something the other day, but they were enjoying themselves, and it was just a, hey, look, the light's coming in the window, and it was a sweet moment sort of thing. So it's more of a personal photo than a professional one, but I thought I'd share. So it seems easy, right? And easy is great, but I figured I would complicate things because I want to talk to you guys about light and about like the way light works. So I decided to make things harder on everybody. It's not really, but I want you guys to have a little bit of understanding of the way things work a little bit. And this is one of the, like those concepts in photography that like people start talking about and then they glaze over and then they don't know what then they say, oh, light and off camera flash, I don't want to deal with that. I'm just going to walk away. And I don't think that it needs to be like that. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to seem off topic, but it is not. Today we're going to talk about the inverse square law, all right? And my husband actually has a master's degree in light, well, or reflecting light, or he wrote like, I'm not even exaggerating, a thesis like this big on light reflecting off of the surface of water or something. And so needless to say, he is a very technical, math-minded person. He was doing math that I'm pretty sure he was just making up characters for. Like, he moved past like letters and numbers and like symbols and hieroglyphics, and I think he was starting to add emojis in. Like, I have no idea the math that he was doing on that. So it's always fun around my house when him and I start talking about something like this, because him and I think pretty much as opposite as two people could possibly think. I am very visually minded, obviously, as a photographer. And I think in the abstract and in the application of things, right? Like, I don't really care what the math is. I want to know how I can use that math for whatever I'm trying to achieve. Whereas he gets super caught up in the math. So him and I were talking about the inverse square law because I wanted to make sure that I could clearly explain it to you guys in a way that somebody else understood. The problem with that, with my husband, was that he does understand it possibly more than I do, but from a completely opposite direction. And well, let's just say that the conversation started using words like photons and math words and stuff, and I was like, whoa, we gotta back up, because I want to teach you guys something that is like how we apply it in photography. If you're really into math like my husband, let me know in the comments and I will make him do a whole demo with like charts and math and equations and graphs. Wait, I saved a picture for you guys. There were graphs involved and crickets, but that's a whole nother thing. So I'm gonna break this down in like a more basic way, okay? So the inverse square law is basically just a way to describe how light falls off from a light source, all right? So we're talking about light fall off, which is something I mentioned yesterday. And light fall off in photography basically means from your light source where it's super bright, how fast the light dissipates so it's not bright anymore. Make sense? Seems easy. So what we normally think of is it looks something like this. I know you guys were so excited to get more diagrams, right? So you would think it would be something like this, like a real easy gradient. It spreads out, super basic gradient. It's all even. And that's the light coming out of a window or a strobe or a speed light or a flashlight or whatever would work. But see, that's where the inverse square law comes in, because it's not exactly how that works, all right? So, and this is where my husband and I get into it, because we say the same things from completely different sides of the world. So what actually happens, right, is that the light falls off faster than you would think. So it looks more like this. It looks more like there's more intensity of light closer to your light source, and then less light as you get further away from the light source, but exponentially. So when I'm describing this, what I mean is, if you were trying to take a picture of two people being lit by a window, we're using a window example today, looking at this graphic, if you had one person very close to the window and one further away from the window, the person further away from the window is getting less light and thus would not be properly exposed in your image, right? It would be nearly impossible to get both the person very close to the window and the person very far away from the window, both in proper exposure. That is basically what the inverse square law is telling you. So as a photographer, how do we cope with this problem? So the best way to do this is, if you look at my lovely graphic again, is put them both in the same amount of light fall off. So push both people away from the window, because the amount of light, once it's dispersed farther away from the window, is more even than the light very close to the window, where it's more like intense and it's the beginning of the light source. So I know I just said a lot of words, but basically if I'm standing right in front of the window, right, and somebody is standing here, then the fall off amount, you can actually even see it from my light that is very close to me but the fall off amount from the person just behind my shoulder to me is significantly more than if both of us were further back away from the light source, because the light does this instead of this. So does that sort of make sense? Give me a thumbs up if it makes sense, all right? And the reason we need to know this is because we need to figure out how to position ourselves or our people or our subjects or our flowers or whatever you're taking pictures of from our light source. So if you want very intense light, but with really like more extreme shadows and the fall off is much faster, then shoot and expose for your subject to be very close to the window. If you want something that's more even between multiple subjects, or a more even light fall off with less dramatic shadows, then you want your subject further away from your light source. And this works in this way, whether we're talking about a flashlight, a strobe, a speed light, an LED light, a softbox, a window, like it doesn't matter. If you move further away, right, from the light source, the light fall off is more dramatic, and eventually as you move further away, the light becomes more even across your subjects, even if that means that it's darker for everybody, because you can just have it like your exposure is more even. So I am actually working on a video that explains this with like more graphics and more pictures and more details. I didn't want this video to turn into like a 4-hour video, but I wanted to kind of go over the basics because I think it'll be helpful for tomorrow. And I do want to touch on one other thing. When we're talking terminology about light, we can talk about like hard light or soft light, right? And what determines soft light or hard light is the size of your light source in relation to the size of your subject, okay? So if my light source is my cell phone or my cell phone's light, right? It's super tiny, which means compared to my head, it is very small. So if it's small, that means it's going to be hard light, just like the sun, right? If we are taking a picture outside in the middle of the sun, the middle of a a field with the sun shining down, you get really harsh shadows, right? And we all try and avoid that. So as you saw in the video yesterday, and if you didn't watch it, go back and watch yesterday's video. The way that I cope with that is I put up that big diffuser, right? So why does that work? It's because the huge diffuser in relation to my daughter that was the subject yesterday is significantly bigger than her. And that means the light gets soft and it wraps around and it looks nice. So how does this go into windows, right? So if we're using a window as a light source and you want the light to be very soft and ethereal, put a white curtain up, move it slightly away from the window, not like crazy, but not directly on the windowsill, right? And we're talking if there's direct sunlight coming through this window, just to clarify. But put up a curtain, move it a little bit away from the light, and you're gonna have a more even tone of light. Not because the curtain changes your light fall off, but the curtain changes the intensity of the light, and then the fall off is you moving further away. Okay, two different things. But if you want something with hard shadows, then maybe put up curtains with dark curtains so that you just get a slit of light coming through. And then the light source becomes smaller, right? So then your item, even if it's in the same spot, can have harder shadows. And if you move it closer to your light source, the contrast is bigger. So then you have even harder shadows between the light and the dark because you've made your light source smaller relative to your subject. So I guess to summarize, the prompt is window light. And then I complicated it by just adding more information for you guys, all right? So the additional information is inverse square law talks about light fall off from your light source. And it basically says that light falls off faster than you would think. And if you want a more even balance between multiple subjects that are further apart, to move them away from the light, not towards the light, which is our natural inclination. If we need more light, we usually put the light closer, and that is not always the way to, the solution for that. And then the last little tip was the bigger the light source relative to your subject, the softer the light, all right? So that means creating a new light source in your window by putting up a curtain takes it from the sun being the light source shining through the window to the whole window being the light source, which is significantly bigger than the little tiny sun in the sky, which will give you a softer light coming through the window, which could be more pleasant for whatever you're photographing. I personally really like hard light, so it's not a problem for me, but sometimes I have to go that opposite direction. Okay, so that was a lot, but I didn't take up 100 hours, so that's good. If you guys have questions, please put them in the comments. I know I forget things sometimes. I'm trying to remember all the things, but I'm telling you, this is the biggest onion in photography. Don't forget to post your photos on Instagram with #LearnPhotoChallenge and #PhotosForTheRestOfUs because I love seeing them. And on our Learn Facebook group with the link below under the thread for week 3, day 4. If you haven't already, please take a moment and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate the support. I just do this for fun and for free, and so the little clicking the button thing makes me feel good, and I really appreciate it. Like I said, comment below, tell me how you're doing on the whole thing. I do reply to everybody, or at least I try to reply to everybody. If I've missed you, it wasn't personal, I didn't see it. And hit the like button because the algorithm's like that, apparently. All right, and I am so excited. Week 3 is ending tomorrow, and it's going out with a bang, one of my favorite topics. I just found out, and I'm super excited. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow.